Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. And tonight I bring you Crime Vault, Casey Anthony. Did the jury let a killer go free? In Touch is my first source. Where is Casey Anthony now? See what she has been up to since the death of her daughter, Kaylee. This was uploaded November 30th, 2021. True crime fans are still outraged over the gut-wrenching details of Casey Anthony's infamous murder trial. But now that it's been over a decade since the disappearance and death of Anthony's daughter, Kaylee Anthony, the 35-year-old is trying to lead a normal life. Keep reading below to find out more about what Anthony is up to today. Where is Casey Anthony today? A source told In Touch exclusively in March 2020 that Casey is writing a detailed and definitive account of her life and the tragedy of losing Kaylee and everything that followed. At the time, she had already completed 3 chapters. She knows the book will be controversial and that no matter what she does, she will face criticism. But she also feels she has a story that has never been told. Nobody else has lived it, so no one else can tell it, the source explained. What does Casey do? Besides working as a researcher, Anthony tried to start her own photography business in 2016. She created a Twitter account for her company, Casey Photography LLC, but it was soon deleted when she received fewer photo inquiries and more questions about the trial. In December 2020, Anthony launched a private investigation firm in Florida. Paperwork for a new company titled Case Research and Consulting Services LLC was filed with the Florida Division of Corporation under her name on December 14th, according to documents obtained by the Daily Mail. Although some reports have implied that Anthony wants to investigate the 2008 death of her 2-year-old daughter, a source close to Anthony told People in January 2021 that's not the case. That's a closed chapter in her life, said the insider. She's not starting a company to get answers about Kaylee. Instead, Anthony wants to help other people who are facing serious legal charges. She knows what it's like to be accused of something that she didn't do, the source said. She wants to help other wrongfully accused people, especially women, and help them get justice. In June 2019, Anthony announced she was working on a film about her life after the death of Kaylee. Yes, I drank and carried on like nothing happened. The movie is called As I Was Told because I'd done what I was told to do. I had to put on a fake persona throughout those 31 days, Anthony said to the Daily Mail about what to expect to see in her movie. However, the movie just hasn't really gotten off the ground, a source told People in September 2020. And then the coronavirus became a thing that stopped any momentum that the film had made. It's effectively dead. Casey is dating and partying again. After years of trying to stay out of the public eye, Anthony was spotted back on the scene for the first time in 2019. She believes she has done her penance, a separate source close to Anthony told People. And now she's partying, she's dating around, meeting new people, and finally creating a social life. Although Anthony was trying to mingle once again, she isn't ready to settle down. Anthony began dating a man a couple of years ago, but things fizzled out, the source shared, adding, that's not what she's looking for now. Casey wants more kids. For a long time, she was like, no way, a third source told People in October 2018, in regards to having more children. But time has changed, and she's now open to it in a way she hasn't been before. However, Casey's father, George Anthony, expressed that thought made him nervous, knowing now, One second. Jumped off my place. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you all. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that, you guys. It's a bit of a glitch going on here with the internet. Excuse me. As I was saying, pertaining to her father, George Anthony, he expressed that it made him nervous. Knowing now that she could potentially be a mom again, I hope she does better this time around than what she did last time. Mercy, what a statement. Casey's case still haunts some jurors. One of the male jurors spoke out about how his decision to acquit Anthony still impacted him 10 years later on May 20th, 2021. I think now if I were to do it over again, I'd push harder to convict her on one of the lesser charges like aggravated manslaughter, he told People. At least that, or child abuse. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I didn't stand up for what I believed in at the time. Where does Kaylee live? As of 2017, Anthony was living in South Florida with Patrick McKenna, a private detective who worked as the lead investigator on her case in 2011 trial in the death of her daughter. McKenna is also known for his work on the O.J. Simpson case, the former NFL star who was charged and later acquitted in the murder of his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson. And in this said article, you will see a February 2017 photograph of Ms. Anthony, and she's posing with a picture of her late daughter, Kaylee. And this was during an interview at her home in West Palm Beach, Florida. And then they also have information in February 2017 showing an update and older photos pertaining to the case. This was by In Touch Weekly, and this was uploaded November 2021. Thank you all so much for joining me. I will now bring you another source pertaining to Casey Anthony. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $BeganG129 Cash App. I'll super chat to welcome during the live. Where is she now? Kaylee was acquitted of her daughter's death in 2011, 10 years ago. There has been interest as to what the 35-year-old is now doing with her life. The Florida woman was accused of murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, who was last seen alive on June 16, 2008. The defense explained that Kaylee drowned in the family pool sometime during the day, and that both Casey and George Anthony panicked when they found the body and covered up her death. The prosecution painted a different series of events, alleging that Casey used chloroform on her daughter and suffocated her by putting duct tape over the toddler's mouth and nose. The story first broke on July 15, 2008, when Casey's mother, Cindy Anthony, frantically called police in Orlando, Florida, to report that she just learned that her granddaughter, Kaylee, had been missing for 31 days. Casey first claimed that Kaylee was with a sitter named Zanetta Gonzalez Zanny, which turned out to be the first of many lies. In December 2008, Kaylee's decomposed remains were found in a wooded area not far from the Anthony home. Basically, she's been leading a normal life for 10 years after her not guilty verdict in South Florida. She emerged on the scene 2021 of May, involved in a massive brawl. Drinks were reportedly thrown at O'Shea's Irish pub in West Palm Beach in Florida over the weekend after Casey brawled with a woman with whom it was claimed she shared an ex. According to a police report obtained by TMZ, Casey said a woman identified as Thelma Moya spilled a drink on her leg and things got out of hand. The report also states that Casey told officers the argument was triggered by the fact they both dated the same man at the same time, and there was a long-standing feud between them. The outlet reports that police explained to Casey how to file a restraining order, but she refused and simply wanted the incident documented. Okay, Moya was not arrested or even at the scene when cops arrived. TMZ notes Casey was spotted in the same bar 2 years ago. In March 2020, a source told In Touch Weekly that Casey is writing, as I told y'all, a detailed and definitive account of her life and the tragedy of losing Kaylee and everything that followed. At the time, she had already written 3 chapters. And as I said, she knows that the book will be controversial and nobody's lived this scenario except for she. And then in 2020, she launched a private investigation firm in Florida to help those facing serious legal charges, basically saying she knows what it's like to be accused of something that she did not do, so on and so forth. That's thesun.com. Let me touch on a few things about both sources that I brought you. In Touch and The Sun are the sources. The fact that the father said, considering what happened the last time, well, last time she killed a kid. That's what she did last time. So basically, seems like to me you would have said, she doesn't need to have any children because I believe my child killed my grandchild. Just call a spade because we already know you all don't have a relationship with the said daughter. Her feuding in a public place over a man. One would have to question the motive of a man dating a woman that most think killed her child. How crazy is that? We know that she can knock off a child. Hell, would we be surprised if she decided to knock off the opposition? Just saying. Yes, to this day, many people have strong feelings about the verdict. And I find it very interesting that a man would wait so many years later, a juror, to say he wished he had stood up for what he believed in. Well, you let her kill her go, and it could have been you who helped seal the deal. That's all you need is one to hang the jury. She would have went back into her cage and waited for another trial. And perhaps her lawyers would have then said, maybe you should take a plea. Why put yourself through this again? But we do have attorneys, defense attorneys who ride the ride, knowing damn well their clients are guilty, but they pump them up to think they can go before the jury again to try to get it right. I wish that man would have folded amongst his peers and said, I think this woman is guilty and we need to find her guilty, and I'm going to hold out on a guilty verdict. But that did not happen. During the trial, a scientist came along from Tennessee to testify pertaining to an odor test. And he is a forensic scientist working for the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which sits outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, the town of Oak Ridge. It is a nuclear town. It is called the Secret City. It is the secret of America that most people don't know about, that the first atomic bomb was built in this tiny, tiny town of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And in this tiny town, there sits a national lab where ORNL scientist Arpad Voss testified. And he was among one of the expert witnesses to testify in the trial against Casey Anthony. And he was the one who brought forth the smell test, which was debunked by several people during the trial. Naturally, the defense attorneys, and everything's up for interpretation pertaining to this horrific case out of Florida. But I believe in the test because I believe in the national lab and I believe in their scientists. These people are world-renowned. I believe in what they do. And these people come from all over the world and outside of the United States to work at the national lab and work for the government offices in the small town of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, for those who are not familiar with the area. So these people know what they're talking about, and I believe he knows what he's talking about. Time is the source. Casey Anthony trial forensic evidence comes under fire. This was uploaded the 27th of June, 2011. It seems Jose Baez saved the big guns for the end. Little by little, over the course of the past week and a half, Casey Anthony's defense lawyers have tried to chip away at the prosecution's battery of scientific evidence that suggests Anthony killed her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. On day 29, they took the biggest swing yet at discrediting the most compelling, but also the most controversial forensic evidence. Prosecutors attempted to prove that Anthony stashed Kaylee's body in the trunk of her car based on decomposition odor analysis, the study of chemicals released when a body decomposes that prosecutors say were found in Anthony's trunk. Dr. Arpad Voss, a scientist at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, testified early in the trial that the presence of certain chemicals proves that there was a decomposing body in the trunk of the car. But some experts question the validity of Voss's methods and whether they should have been admitted in court. It's what the state calls state of the art. It's what I call not ready for prime time. Dr. Lawrence Kobalinski, head of Forensic Sciences Department at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, told the Time. It's not junk science, but it never should be brought into a courtroom at this stage. The defense has already called one expert whose testimony refutes Voss's theory, but today's witness, Dr. Kenneth Furton, a chemistry professor who studies the chemistry of human decomposition, directly refuted Voss's techniques. It's my expert opinion that there's currently no instrumental method that has been scientifically validated to the level that it could be used to identify the presence or absence of human decomposition, Furton said. Furton's testimony goes further than refuting damaging evidence. It calls into question whether Ass's analysis should have been admitted in the first place. If Anthony is convicted of murdering her daughter, bias will almost certainly argue that Furton's testimony reflects the opinions of the greater scientific community. Florida, which adheres to the Frye standards of admitting scientific evidence, requires that the scientific community clearly support a technique before it can be used in a trial. Interesting. Very interesting. Today's testimony came after an abrupt recess on Saturday when Kaylee was examined by 3 psychologists who determined she is competent to continue with the trial. The defense is expected to wrap up its case this week. Now, naturally, this was many moons ago when this information was reported in 2011. But like I said, everything's up for interpretation. But my thing is common sense. And I understand certain things have to be ironclad for court. But when you walk into a room, a restaurant, and you smell fried chicken, to your knowledge, it is chicken because you've eaten chicken. So you say, I smell chicken. Now you don't see the chicken. It's not on the stove, visible on the counter, but you know it's chicken. Steak, same thing. I don't see it, but I smell it. Bleach, same thing. You know the smell of bleach. It has a pungent smell. Come on with it, Queen. You know the smell of bleach, gasoline, it's all the same. I don't have to see it, but I know the smell. So it doesn't mean that it didn't exist. It doesn't exist because I don't see it. Same thing with a decomposing body. It has been said by many experts, law officials, that they know the smell because they've been in the presence of a dead body. So therefore, when one enters a room, location, locale, I don't have to see the body to know there is a dead body. So I didn't understand what was the argument over. If he says chemicals are let off by the body after death, which we know this is true, gases are released by the human body after death, what is the problem? And something has to be the first in order for it to go forward as evidentiary, such as when the world began. We didn't have cars, we didn't have trucks, we didn't have roads, but we do now. And someone told us what they were for us to say, that's a car, that's a road, that's a tree. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's a flower, that's a human. Somebody told somebody that's what something was, and then that person passed it along, and that is how the world came to be. But as I said, you're entitled to your opinion pertaining to this case of Casey Anthony. Did the jury get it right by letting her go free, or did they let go a killer? So many things in the case was obvious to me, in my opinion, that she was guilty. One, the child was wrapped in a Winnie Pooh blanket. Her bedding was of Winnie the Pooh. What are the odds that your own child will be found wrapped in the same blanket that matches the linen in the house where she stayed with the grandparents? The basket she was also in, a canvas laundry basket. The other two were identical inside of the house in the garage, if I'm not mistaken. They were in different sizes. 3 canvas bags, light in color. You can find them at Target. What are the odds she's in one of them and the other 2 are at the house? Duct tape, similar to the duct tape found at the house. Stickers, allegedly near or in the vicinity of the mouth area, were also stickers found at the house belonging to Casey and the child. Putting the blame on a random worker who was out doing his job. Come on now. How did he get into the house to kidnap your child and put her in your laundry basket and in that blanket and then dump her a little ways from the house, close by though? He doesn't know you. He doesn't know your family. You didn't say someone broke into your house, so how would he get your child? You see, this is the job of an attorney. It's to make reasonable doubt. But to this day, I don't understand how anyone could have thought the grandfather or mother, grandmother did this to the grandchild. or the brother or anybody else or a random utility worker. It was heinous and below the belt to implicate the very parents who helped take care of you, let you live in their house free 9 times out of 10, and also cared for your child without a due bill. And yet you lied to the public, lied to law officials, lied about working, did not have a job, stayed out a month with a dead kid, marinating in your back trunk and outside, and then put it on an imaginary woman, Hispanic woman that did not exist, numerous locales and addresses that did not pan out to have a said person to live there, real addresses, but no one there. And that was the one thing Marsha Clark said in the A&E documentary pertaining to Casey Anthony. The addresses were real, but there was no real persons that lived at these addresses. And the fact that she says in this commentary, this is her story, she's the only one that can tell it. It's about what allegedly happened, her truth. You can't explain logically 1 whole month of having a child allegedly missing, and you never called law enforcement, and you never called your parents. So what truth would you be telling in a book and or movie and or whichsoever? Because it's not the truth. Because the fact that you said I was going to handle it on my own, but instead you were out partying and drinking and chasing in behind a man. That was your motive for living, and 9 times out of 10, your motive for killing your baby. Sex-driven. Yes, I'm going to say that. Too busy having a hot pants instead of trying to rear your child. In the end, your parents could have raised the child while you went off and did what you wanted to do. That's all you had to say. I'm not ready to raise my child. Can she stay here with you all for a while? Or can I share custody with you all? You couldn't think to do that. You rather suffocate your child and store her in your trunk until you put her in that resting place nearby your home. And to think that you would consider having children is a joke. Nobody wants to see you with a child. And I don't think you really want a child because you would have had one by now. And any man that lays with you, he's crazy as hell. And I've always questioned men and women who date people who have been accused of murder and been exonerated by being found not guilty when the evidence is evident that they did it. Very strange. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to play you a little commentary pertaining to this riveting story that took place out of Florida and a verdict that shocked the world. Crime Watch Daily is the source.
If you search for the most hated mom in America, one name is still sure to pop up. Casey Anthony.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Sensationally acquitted in the murder of her adorable 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. There's no dispute many people still believe Casey killed her. But there are 2 other victims of this American tragedy.
Well, we were labeled the most hated family in America.
Casey's parents, George and Cindy Anthony.
I don't want to see her. I want to talk to her.
Now, for the first time, you'll hear their deep pain at losing their granddaughter.
Did you want her gone? I wanted to be with her. Even to this day.
Stunning new information about Casey's mental health.
I walked in, I heard her in her room having a seizure.
Never before seen pictures of Casey and Kaylee. And the answer to the question everyone is asking.
Do you think Casey killed Kaylee?
My exclusive interview with the Anthonys begins right now.
Why talk today? Because I really believe out there, there's a certain amount of people that don't really understand what we've been through, how traumatic it's been for these last 9 years.
They can't understand.
They can't understand. George, how would you describe Casey growing up as a child? Very energetic, very intelligent young lady, little girl. Always trying to do the best she possibly could. Always trying to make me laugh.
The happiness multiplied after then 18-year-old Casey became pregnant.
How did you find out Casey was pregnant?
She says, I just came from the doctors and I've got something to tell you. And she says, Mom, I'm pregnant. And I looked at her and her face, you know, she was smiling, and I said, that's awesome.
Was she excited? Was she nervous?
No, she was excited.
It was a happy moment.
It was a very happy moment.
To know that you're going to be a grandparent. Who was the father?
Casey goes, well, this guy that I had dated for a couple months, but we're no longer together. And I said, well, does he know? And she said, not yet. And she had told me his name was Jesse.
Then the day finally when Kaylee was born, that's when I actually officially met him. Walking into the room where Casey was at and seeing him, and it was an awkward moment to a point. He looked different.
He looks
just kind of rolled in the day before the baby was born.
Yeah,
I just like
his first impression of Jesse wasn't that great.
It was the first of many lies the Anthony St. Casey would tell. A DNA test reportedly showed Jesse was not the baby daddy, and believed to be the real birth father died in a tragic accident. But little Kaylee would certainly not grow up without a lot of love from her doting grandparents.
So she would be home during the day with Kaylee, and I'd get home like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, and she'd say, do you want Grammy time with your granddaughter? And I said,
Grammy time.
Yeah, I was Grammy. I didn't want to be Grandma. I wanted to be Grammy. Then I'd just scoop that child up and just, you know, love on her.
Did Kaylee remind you of Casey? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just so many things about her just made me think like, wow, I got another little girl in my life that's going to be, you know, someone I can hold on to and cherish and just be so connected to and close to.
The Anthonys shared these never-before-seen photos of that wonderful time when Kaylee was growing up. She loved to go swimming in the backyard pool with her Grammy.
Cindy, what's your fondest memory of Kaylee as a daughter?
Oh, there's so many. Probably the coolest thing that she used to do, if she got up before me, she'd come in the morning, creep in, and she'd put her hand on my face and say, and she'd put her face right by, Cece, wake up. Grammy, wake up. Because as she got older, she started calling me either Cece or Grammy Cece.
But the good times were about to end when Casey told her parents she was taking Kaylee with her as she traveled between jobs in Jacksonville and Tampa for a week.
And then that trip for a week extended into another week because she told me her car was having issues and she had to take it to get it fixed.
So this happened incrementally and didn't initially cause you to have any
No, because there was always a reasonable explanation. It made sense.
Casey's car had been towed, and when George and Cindy picked it up, it reeked.
I said, man, this car really stinks. As a former deputy sheriff, you recognize that smell as that of a dead body. To me, yes.
In the trunk, there were bags of trash, rotting in the hot Florida summer sun. Cindy says that's when she learned that Casey's jobs didn't exist, and she wasn't in Tampa, but in a suburb of Orlando.
I had found Casey that evening.
And where was she?
She was staying with her current boyfriend, this guy that I knew nothing about. We went to this apartment in Winter Park. I'd never been. I never met this guy. And as soon as she opened the door, I could smell marijuana. So I knew Kaylee wasn't in that apartment. I said, where have you been and where's Kaylee? She says, well, Kaylee's at the nanny's. Zanny the nanny. I asked Casey, I said, let's go to Zanny's. So I want to pick up Kaylee. I haven't seen her in a month. And I said, and every time I talked to you on the phone this last month, there's an excuse why I can't talk to Kaylee. I want to see her.
Cindy would soon learn the terrifying truth. Kaylee was missing, and she had been for the last 31 days.
I pull into my driveway, and I see Cindy pacing back and forth, and I said, what's going on? What's going on? Kaylee, something happened to Kaylee. Somebody has Kaylee. She's missing. She's missing. Why would somebody have Kaylee? I'm shocked to say that everything that you thought of life was going well. All of a sudden, it changed. Everything changed forever at that moment.
Cindy says Casey's changing stories made her suspicious, so she called 911.
Possible missing child. There's a 3-year-old that's been missing for months. A 3-year-old? Yeah, have you reported that? I'm trying to do that now, ma'am.
Who would want to kidnap Kaylee? That was a question I was asking, not only myself, but asking her. As a matter of fact, it got to be pretty screaming. I was very upset.
And what did Casey say to you?
She said, Dad, I dropped her off and I can't find her.
Yeah, I can't find her.
And I said,
That doesn't make sense, Troy.
I know it didn't make any sense.
And according to Cindy, as they were trying to sort things out, she overheard a chilling conversation between Casey and her brother.
As I walked back into the house after calling the sheriff's department, I'm walking down the hallway. I overhear Casey tell Lee, her brother, that Zanny had took Kaylee and wouldn't give her back. And I said, what the hell do you mean Zanny won't give her back? And she said, Mom, she goes, when I went to pick her up, she said, you can't have her. I said, what are you talking about?
Cindy calls 911 again and tells the operator about the odor in Casey's car.
There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
And this time, Casey gets on the phone and gives a rather flimsy explanation to the dispatcher.
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days. Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago? I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her.
Casey was out partying during those 31 days. The next day, she was arrested on charges of child neglect, giving false statements to cops, and obstructing an investigation.
Do you think your granddaughter's dead body had been in that car? I didn't want to think that.
How could any good-hearted man think the worst of his own daughter? The horrible reality. Kaylee was gone. But where was she? Coming up.
He said, we know we're going to pin it on you because you need to fall on the sword for your daughter.
And the shocking thing Cindy says Casey's lawyer told her when her daughter got seriously ill.
I says, should I take her to the hospital? He goes, no.
Alrighty.
I used to see them watching, looking through my window. This day in particular, I had my son with me. I'm walking in the door.
Part 2, you guys.
Cindy and George Anthony were distraught and in disbelief.
She called me Jojo. Jojo. Something I miss to this day.
Their precious little granddaughter, Kaylee, vanished, leaving them with broken hearts.
When was the last time you saw Kaylee? On June 16th, just before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Describe that visit. Sitting watching one of my favorite programs on TV. Seeing Casey and Kaylee walk out of Casey's bedroom. Kaylee being dressed in her little pink top with her little blue jeans. I remember the blue jean shorts she had on, the little sandals and socks, a little backpack, her big little sunglasses she had on. Do you remember the last thing you said to her? Oh yeah, when I walked her and Casey out to the car, helped her get her into her little car seat in the back seat. Jojo loves you, Jojo. See you later. And here she just blew me a kiss and I blew her one back. Did you ever see her alive again? I never saw her after that. And that's something that I miss. I miss her.
Kaylee was nowhere to be found.
Did you ever look Casey in the eyes and say, what happened to Kaylee?
No.
Why not?
Let me tell you why not. Because I was not allowed to talk to Casey while she was in jail.
That's because jailhouse conversations are videotaped. It could be used as evidence against Casey, who at the time was charged with child neglect.
This is recorded, and I don't know who's going to see things and who's going to misconstrue whatever else.
Casey sticks to her wild story that the mysterious Zanny the nanny snatched Kaylee.
Listen, I'm in front of the cameras all the time. What message do you want me to give to Zanny and to Kaylee? What do you want me to tell Zanny? That she needs to return Kaylee.
There was no Zanny the nanny. She exists only in Casey's imagination.
Is it possible that Zanny the nanny could have been the anxiety drug, Xanax, and not a person?
Every single one of her friends said that Casey doesn't do drugs.
What do you think really happened? My gut feeling inside, as a father, as a father, as a grandfather, I believe Kaylee was given something and she didn't wake up. That's my feeling.
The Anthonys would soon learn the horrible truth. 6 months after Kaylee disappeared, a meter reader sees a suspicious bag and calls 911.
And what's your emergency?
I noticed something that looked white, and there was a gray bag down in there. I don't know what it is. I'm not telling you it's Kaylee or anything of that nature.
It was Kaylee. Her little body dumped in a swamp near the Anthony's home. The remains so decomposed, the coroner couldn't determine the exact cause of death.
Do you think Casey killed Kaylee? Casey knows what happened to Kaylee. I feel that in my heart. Do I feel that she took my granddaughter's life? I don't want to believe that. But Casey is the one that can answer that question. Have you ever asked her that point blank? Did you kill your daughter? I never got a chance to. I never got a chance to be that confrontational with my daughter to ask. Do you, Cindy, think that Casey killed Kaylee?
No, I truly, honestly don't think she
Then what happened?
killed her. I don't know. I don't know if it was an accident or what happened. I don't know if Casey got distracted and Kaylee drowned in the pool.
There was a theory that, in fact, Kaylee drowned and that one or both of you helped cover it up. What do you say to that?
Well, it was never that I covered it up. It was about...
Yeah, it was told that I had found Kaylee in the pool. I went into the pool to get her and brought her out and rushed in and
She was already dead.
Yes, she was already dead. What do you say to that? That's wrong because it didn't happen. It did not happen.
And when Casey is tried for first-degree murder,
It's insane. It's bizarre.
her attorney, Jose Baez, floats the drowning theory.
She never was missing. Kaylee Anthony died on June 16, 2008, when she drowned in her family's swimming pool.
And for the first time ever, George reveals something he says Baez told him. He was going to make him the scapegoat.
He said, we know we're going to pin her on you because you need to fall on the sword for your daughter. You need to do this. I said, wait. The defense attorney said to you, you need to fall on the sword. I need to fall on the sword for my
In
daughter.
what way?
I need to take responsibility and claim that
What responsibility?
the reason why Kaylee wasn't here with us anymore, the reason why she's gone.
That you killed her?
Yeah. They wanted to blame this on me, and I said, no. I said, I'm not going to take a fall for something that I had nothing to do with.
Did you think this was even possible?
No, it
That
was
your
like...
husband could have done this?
No, but when the day that Jose told me that he had known about the drowning for a long time, my reaction was, what the hell? Why didn't you just come and tell us from the very beginning? We wouldn't have had to go through 3 years of all this aggravation. We wouldn't have had to look 6 months for her.
Then Baez does the unthinkable.
It all began when Casey was 8 years old and her father came into her room and began to touch her inappropriately.
He actually accuses George of sexually abusing Casey.
How painful was it for you to hear that? To hear that come out of his mouth? My first instinct was to jump over that little ledge piece that goes back and forth before you walk into the court. I wanted to jump that and attack him. That's how angry I was. But you know what? I felt I was bigger than this.
And at no time during the trial was there any evidence suggested that you had committed any sexual impropriety in any way.
Well, right, because Cindy knows it didn't happen. If something like that would happen, why wouldn't my daughter have said something to her?
We reached out to Baez for comment, but he didn't respond.
Do you think, looking back, she was mentally ill?
Yes, I think Casey is mentally ill. I really do.
Cindy says during one of the times when Casey was out on bond and living at home, she discovered her daughter passed out.
Casey had several seizures. I walked in, I heard her in her room having a seizure. She was out for 40 minutes, did not know where she was. I couldn't arouse her. So I called Jose. I says, should I take her to the hospital? He goes, no, because the media will be all over it. Let me know how she is in the morning. She had bit her tongue. She didn't remember anything. She had wet the bed. I told her. I had to tell her everything that had happened to her.
Do you think Casey had a seizure, potentially, and didn't even know
To me,
what
that's
happened?
a possibility. And she doesn't remember when she has seizures unless she knows she's bit her tongue or something. I'm not sure if she didn't have a seizure that day and blacked out and found Kaylee in the pool.
What is sure, Baez's courtroom theatrics worked.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Casey was acquitted. She walked out of jail a free woman. But will George ever be free of the lingering doubts about his daughter's innocence? Is she a killer?
Do you think she intentionally wanted to kill Kaylee?
I don't think she intentionally wanted to.
Okay.
I don't think she intentionally wanted to, but she shouldn't be in jail because of Kaylee not being here.
Next, George reveals his darkest secret, why he tried to kill himself.
I feel like I was falling into one of those sinkholes like in Florida.
Their reaction to the only interview Casey has done since the acquittal.
She's not to blame in her mind.
And is Kaylee's ghost haunting his house?
I've seen her in the flesh. I've seen
her in your house.
In my house. Sitting watching one of my favorite programs.
All right. That is some very interesting information. I think these people were in denial because they talked around in circles pertaining to her guilt. He's basically saying, the father, oh, I believe she knew what happened. Basically saying, what then? The bag came from your house. The sticker came from your house. The tape came from your house. The blanket came from your house. She still put her in the bag. So, as I've told you all before, in the other mess that we talk about on this channel, even if you dispose of the child from an accident, you're still disgusting. You didn't bring your child in that way. Why would you put him out like that? Your child has an accident and you're going to go dump your baby out in the swamp, the woods, a trash can, dumpster. Why the hell would you do that? That's your child. So it doesn't matter if another child did it, it was a drowning, the baby fell, you shook the baby, whichsoever. Why are you disposing of the child if it's an accident? These people had to have known she was guilty due to the fact of 31 days of not saying anything about the baby, making excuses every time the mother wanted to talk to her, talk to the child. Excuse. The smell in the car. The father knew what death smelled like. He's probably been to God knows how many death scenes in his time. They say it's a smell you will never forget. Forensic tech experts have said when they go to the scene, they know it's death. They don't have to see the body. They already know. That's why I found it odd that Dr. Voss odor test was debunked by some in the court system and also scientific community. Because my thing is, something has to come to fruition at some point. Everything has to be a first. There has to be a first something. First person to run a marathon, first person to walk on the moon. Hello? First person to create a scientific notation. There has to be a first somewhere in the world. It's just common sense. There was some other commentary I wanted to play pertaining to this riveting story. Just a very baffling story. I'm going to pull it up. Hold on one second. Because this was very crazy. This is pertaining to Dr. Oz. And it says, the Casey Anthony case. Good details missed 10 years ago have changed the verdict. This was uploaded 1 month ago by Dr. Oz. And I want to go ahead and play that commentary. Thank you all so much for joining me. Yes, she went on her merry way. She did.
Shocking, not guilty verdict. The new details reveal what really happened to her daughter. Kaylee Anthony
would have just turned 16 if she were still alive. And today, the bounty
16. Can you believe that? Wow. Amazing.
Revealing what Casey was really like behind closed doors. Plus, Casey's former roommate and the judge who presided over her case have details jurors have never heard. But first, Casey's murder trial hasn't been her last run-in with the law.
911, what is the emergency? Non-emergency. Can you have West Palm come over for an incident report?
In June, Casey Anthony was in the news again after telling police he was assaulted by a woman at a Florida bar.
I dated the same person for a couple of years. Whether they're together or not together, she got upset that he had texted me. I let her know that he had, and she came inside and threw a drink at me.
Casey made national headlines over a decade ago for something far more sinister, when the then 22-year-old single mother was accused of killing her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. On July 15, 2008, Casey's mother, Cindy, called 911 after not seeing her granddaughter for a month.
There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it's right like this, and it's that body in the damn car.
The next day, Casey was arrested for child neglect and other charges. She initially claimed Kaylee was abducted by a nanny. Then later, that the toddler had drowned in her grandparents' pool. That December, remains found in a wooded area near the family home were confirmed to be Kaylee's. In May of 2011, Casey went on trial for first-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and other charges. Just 6 weeks later, after less than 11 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a stunning verdict.
Did the jury find the defendant not guilty?
Casey was sentenced to just 4 years in prison for lying to authorities, but was soon released for time served and good behavior. In March of 2017, Casey broke her silence regarding the case, and people who presumed she's guilty.
I don't give a about what anybody thinks about me or not. I never will. I'm okay with myself. I sleep pretty good at night.
She sleeps pretty good at night. I don't give a F what people think about me. Wow. That's why she killed her kid. She didn't get an F about her kid.
It's hard to believe Kaylee Anthony should be 16 years old today.
Thank you, honey.
It seemed like that long ago. Now, you just visited where her remains were discovered. What went through your head while you were there, Nancy?
Dr. Oz, it seems like it all just happened yesterday. And one of the things that went through my head was as I was driving into that neighborhood, and when I went to the spot where Kaylee was thrown into the woods, just on the side of the road like trash, it really floored me because life has gone on. And I looked out to where Kaylee's little body was wrapped up in a trash bag of all things, and people had thrown, there were old tires out there, there was trash, beer cans, a liquor bottle, and it was right across the street from an elementary school. She would have gone to that school, and everybody's zooming by, and nobody even noticed where that little girl's body lay for so long decomposing.
Ignored. So we just saw body cam footage of Casey Anthony from that recent bar incident. And Nancy, I know you're aware of what was going down. What's the aftermath of this confrontation?
Oz, really? Does anything ever change? Immediately after Kaylee goes missing, where was Top Mom Casey Anthony? Up at the bar. I'm not judging. I'm not a church lady, all right? I ain't afraid of a cocktail. But I'm telling you this much. It's the same thing all over again. You know, like a lot of people, when you lose a child or lose somebody important in your life, it changes your life. It changed my life. That's why I'm not a school teacher right now, because my fiance was murdered, and it changed my life. What is she doing? She is still slung up on a bar stool, and this time got in a fight with another girl that was, what, they were dating the same guy, and of all people was the cop.
What? Shut up. Oh my God, I'm dead.
A child killer. That's his business. A bar fight?
Oh my God, I'm dead. Oh.
Well, interestingly,
Jesus.
Did not press charges and declined to file a restraining order against the woman who was not arrested either.
She didn't file charges, but what about this, Oz? What about her calling 911? You know, did
Did you notice she could call 911 when she says some other woman at a bar threw a drink on her?
Right.
But when her daughter
Goes
is missing
missing
for 30 days,
Yes.
she never thinks,
Yes.
wow, I should call 911. Did you catch that, Oz?
Well, that's part of the mystery of this case to me. Casey, just again to remind everybody,
Lord
Kaylee
have
Anthony was
mercy.
not reported missing until 31 days after Casey says she saw her daughter last. Now, I've spoken to her roommates from that period, and and I remember this vividly. They told me that they are still haunted by the thought that Kaylee's body may have been in Casey's car outside their house
all the time.
as
Oh
they
my
hung out and
gosh.
partied for her for that entire month. Now, Nancy's mom is a prosecutor. How bizarre was Casey's behavior during that time?
May have been out there in the car. That child's body was.
1 second. Let me get through these ads, you guys. Wait a minute. Goodness, Queen's up here messing up stuff. Yes, absolutely disgusting. I'm sitting here just like I'm stunned at the cop comment. That's where I'm a bit baffled. 1 second, you guys, so I can resume this interview. You know how Nancy Grace gets. That's kind of like Queen. The black version of Nancy Grace, dear God help us. She said cop. I thought I was going to scream like, you got to be kidding me. You can't make this stuff up. Hold on 1 second. Wow. That's very, very, very scary. Oh, Lord Jesus, help me.
Out there in Top Mom Casey Anthony's car trunk. And I'll tell you how I know that. Because decomposition was found in that trunk. One of Kaylee's hairs was in that trunk.
Mm-hmm.
That child had duct tape wrapped all around her face, across her nose and mouth, with a heart sticker over the mouth.
Lord,
why would you have your child in the trunk? Yeah, they were in there partying, having sex, having dinner, grilling out. Well, this child was out there dead in the trunk.
So let's take everyone back to the location that Nancy visited where the little Kaylee's body was found. And I'm just going to make this clear for everybody because it's important for us to understand there was less than a half a mile away from the Anthony's family house. Now, I've got to note that Casey Anthony was acquitted of her daughter's murder. Now, listen to what Casey's former roommate thinks really happened.
When the story broke and the nanny's name got dropped, Zanny the nanny, I stood up and said she was using Xanax to babysit her kid.
Oh, Zanny is Xanax.
Zanny is the street term for Xanax.
Oh, Jesus, this is sick. I'm dead. I'm dead. Zanny for Xanax. Wow. Dear God help me.
The drugging theory.
Well, for one thing, we know that very often Top One Casey Anthony would want Kaylee to be quiet, to go to sleep, so
right.
she could go out and party. And I found the very damning searches on her computer, for instance, how to make homemade chloroform, along with things like breaking a neck, ruptured spleen, how to make weapons out of household items.
Oh, wow.
Suffocation, undetectable. I was like that on the home search vehicle.
Oh, wow.
So it's very, very critical that we keep that in mind.
Okay.
I got it.
Wow.
Nancy, this is elucidating as always. I appreciate your passion on this case. It never goes away. Fox Nation's Casey Anthony investigation with Nancy Grace is streaming now, so probably down like all of her work. Up next, the Casey Anthony trial judge is here, revealing the shocking side of the case the jury never saw.
I don't give about what anybody thinks about me. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I never will. I'm okay with myself. I sleep pretty good at night.
Sleep pretty good at night. That was Casey Anthony revealing a side of herself.
She don't give a F what nobody thinks about her. Who talks like that? Child found dead. Swamp. Wow.
One man who did see Casey's behavior,
Sick.
the jurors were not in the courtroom, is the judge who presided over the case. Belvin Perry Jr. joins us now. Thanks for being here, sir. Thanks for having me. You've been at the center of this story for many years. How was Casey's demeanor in front of the jury different for when they weren't there?
You know, one of the things you have to look at is her behavior prior to trial. She was very assertive, very outgoing, a party type figure. So when she came into court, she could not appear in that fashion. So it was like someone took her straight out of central casting and casted her as this quiet, simple, plain dressed young lady that appeared to be timid. And that was the way Dr. Oz, she appeared before the jury. But as soon as the jury left, she became, it's like she flipped the switch. She became controlling, assertive, and you knew who was in charge in her communications with her attorney. So she basically did a 360 in appearance.
Give me a specific example. I know there was a Saturday morning meeting that she was having with her attorneys that stood out to you.
I was a stickler for starting on time. We were supposed to start at 9 o'clock. And attorneys approached me and asked me, could they have some time to discuss a possible plea deal, and they would like to discuss that with their client. And I gave them some time to do that. So I heard all of this ruckus. I heard a female voice that was using 4-letter words quite loudly. Then their attorneys came out and basically said, we would like to have her examined because we feel, based upon the conversation that we had with her, that she is now incompetent to proceed, which meant that she had to be examined by 3 psychiatrists/psychologists, and that was done over the balance of Saturday and Sunday.
So they ruled that she's competent, but I gather from this discussion that they may not have been too confident about the ultimate verdict. Were you surprised by the jury's decision?
Like everyone, I was totally surprised. But, you know, in cases, you always know that there's a possibility that someone would be acquitted. But I thought those odds were quite low.
So what happened? I mean, all of us walking, all of America wondered what happened that this woman was acquitted when there's all this seeming evidence that she actually was involved, or at least wasn't acting like someone who was concerned about the death of her child. Was the case mismanaged? What went wrong with the district attorney's office?
I don't think there was anything that went wrong with the district attorney's office. What most people don't realize is jurors sometimes look at a case far differently than lawyers, judges, and the general public. One of the jurors said that the reason for her vote of acquittal was because the state could not show how she died. Well, that's not an element to be proven. Maybe in hindsight, that should have been explained during jury selection to them. I was thinking that the state would ask for a special instruction on that. Matter of fact, I had crafted a special instruction. My job is to give the standard instructions. If you want a particular special instruction upon a law, it is the party's obligation, either the defense or the state, to ask for that.
So, for example, you could have said, we don't have to know how Casey Anthony killed Kaylee Anthony to decide that she was guilty of murder.
The simple instruction would have been, you need not concern yourself with how she died, since that is not an element to be proven, since it was ruled that it was a homicide. The specific method need not be proven.
All right, so we have to take a break, but up next, Judge Perry reveals what still haunts him from this case. I'm back with Casey Anthony, trial judge Belvin Perry Jr. So let me ask you some questions, just taking advantage of that smart mind of yours, and you were there, you saw everything. What do you believe happened to that little girl?
If you look at all of the evidence, you go back to the trunk. It is quite evident that she spent a significant period of time because there was evidence of decomposition. There was a hair that was found there.
That's what Grace said.
There was high levels of chloroform. We all know the phrase "Zanny the nanny."
Mm-hmm.
It is quite consistent that chloroform was used to put this beautiful young lady to sleep so she could be quiet. It is also consistent with the evidence that more than likely the child succumbed to having too much chloroform. We would never know because there was no tissues or anything left of the body to test.
So we can't say for sure that Kaylee.
Let me stop right there. Once this heifer used the duct tape, all bets off the table of quieting the child. You want to quiet a child, okay, you give them a little cough syrup to put them to sleep. She had other avenues to put her baby to sleep. But then you have to ask yourself, putting the child to sleep where exactly? In the car? Were you leaving the child in the car unattended? So what was the ultimate plan? My theory is it was to kill her because one, chloroform, you're not a scientist or a doctor to know the right amount to give a child to stop talking and being coherent. That's stupid. Two, you put duct tape over her mouth. So you know damn well she wouldn't be able to breathe with the duct tape on her mouth. How is she going to breathe? So it was intentional. I do not believe it was accidental. It was just to keep her out for a couple of hours while she partied. Once you use the duct tape, that shows intentional homicide. And that is my opinion on that pertaining to the duct tape. Thank you so much for joining me.
Kaylee was given Xanax and chloroform. Her official cause of death is undetermined means, and her autopsy came back negative for drugs. Well, let me show what, if you don't mind, Judge Perry. What makes these drugs a lot more difficult to detect in general?
Alprazolam.
You're not detected at all. But part of the problem is these things are used commonly, right?
This drug is called alprazolam.
Called alprazolam.
Alam, excuse me.
Studied in children 7 years and older, but it's only FDA approved for people 18 and older. Kaylee was 2 years old. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters in part because of the size. Adult females are about 170 pounds. Kaylee's age at 2, puts her in this 25 to 37 pound range. It was very easy to overdose this stuff. It is dangerous. Both Xanax and chloroform have the potential to cause respiratory depression and sedation. So let me give you an example. Using a pill, okay? You swallow the pill, and it goes down your throat at any age. And it just gets digested, broken up in the stomach. The small intestine begins to pull the chemicals out. Those chemicals slow down neural firing in the base of the brain right here. Really important areas like command and control that slows down breathing. So your breathing actually slows so much that you don't naturally begin to take in more oxygen. Instead, the opposite happens. Without much oxygen, you end up with organ failure and ultimately death. Chloroform can also cause seizures or deadly arrhythmias. So Judge Perry, as someone who's upheld the law your whole career, and thank you for doing that, someone who's been responsible for arbitrating what's going on so everyone's treated fairly, are you haunted by Kaylee's murder and the fact that no one's ever been convicted of her killing?
The simple answer to that, Dr. Oz, is yes. Kaylee Anthony was a beautiful, vivacious young girl. And everyone that knew about this young lady just wants to know the truth. They want to know how she died. And most importantly, why? What was the motivation?
What's your reaction to Casey saying that she sleeps well at night?
It haunts me. It's deplorable. It shows what type of individual she is.
Amen.
If she is innocent, like she claims she's innocent, then she wouldn't be sleeping well at night because she wouldn't want to know what happened.
Exactly. Amen, Judge. Say that.
I don't think she sleeps well at night. And if she does sleep well at night, something is
wrong with her.
Fundamentally wrong.
Yes, amen.
With her psychological makeup.
Judge Perry, I've gotten to know George Anthony, and I know he was very hurt by being accused of being involved in the death of his granddaughter in some way. As a judge, you've got to let both sides play out their case. How did that affect you to hear those accusations from the defense attorneys?
You know, one of the things I learned during the pendency of that case was one that George Anthony loved his granddaughter. George was a very decent man who cared dearly about his family. You could tell by his actions during the entire time of her disappearance that they were quite genuine and heartfelt. And the way they attacked that man and the accusations they made against him.
I'm glad the judge is saying that. Horrible. Amen. Thank God the judge says that.
Can't do much about it. It's how the court plays, I guess.
Unfortunately, that's a part of the game that is sometimes played in courtrooms around the nation. Attack people, and it doesn't make it right, but it's a part of the system, and it's one part of the system that I've never liked and never will like.
Judge Perry, thank you for your service. Thank you. On the bench. Coming up, the bounty hunter who guarded Casey Anthony is here, and you will not believe the first question. The first thing Casey asked when she was released on bail. When authorities first learned little Kaylee Anthony had been missing for 31 days, they arrested her mother, Casey, and held her in jail on charges of child neglect. But after a month, she was released to await trial. Private investigator Rob Dick was on the bounty hunting team who guarded Casey Anthony when she was out on a $500,000 bail. He joins us now. Rob, why did you have to guard Casey?
Well, originally it's mainly for the security of the bond. You know, you got a $500,000 bond, and we're on the hook for that. So part of the terms and conditions of the bail were to make sure nothing happens to her, or she doesn't do anything to herself, or she doesn't flee or anything else. Just making sure everything goes like it's supposed to. On, you know, it's accountability for bail.
Right. So Casey's case is already a media frenzy. Even before she was released, she is still months away from, and we all are, from finding Kaylee's remains. And I am just curious about this, very deliberately asking you, what was the very first question she asked her parents when she got home?
The very first question out of her mouth was, what was for dinner?
Wow.
Literally,
Wow.
You know, it's an emotional scene with the parents. You know, George and Cindy are there. Cindy's crying. She hasn't seen her daughter physically, you know, in front of her for 30 days. And all Casey cared about was what was for dinner.
Oh, my goodness. There was another incident I know that you've discussed with our team about chicken wings that you believe revealed Casey's true nature. Would you be willing to share that with the audience?
Yeah, the whole time that we were with her, it was all about Casey. You know, she was just enjoying the spotlight. She was enjoying how much media was paying attention to her. And one of the times coming back from Baez's office, the media had been, you know, paying for lunch, trying to get interviews, and kind of just being in the area. She made a comment about she couldn't believe the spread that was put in front of her, in front of Baez, that she had like 37 chicken wings or something, that she was just so full. And then Baez was counseling her that, you know, people are seeing, people like us that are around her are seeing that she's not acting like she should be. And so the very next morning, you know, she's acting a little different, feeling like, oh, I'm not feeling very good, my stomach hurts. And I asked her what's wrong, and she said, oh, I'm just so upset, you know, I haven't eaten in a few days, and it's just, you know, it's really getting to me. You know, to myself, I'm thinking, really? You can't even remember that just yesterday, you know, you were talking about how much you ate and how full you were? She wasn't the greatest actor.
So Baez was her defense attorney, and this is interesting insight, because if he's trying to get her to at least behave like she's sad, because he realizes that this will eventually play on the jury. So, Rob, if you put it all together,
well, it did work.
Do you think if the jurors could have seen what you saw, they would have convicted Casey of murder?
Yeah, it was shocking in the trial because it was completely different.
Exactly.
Thing that we saw. You know, the part where they went after George. You know, George was a very caring grandfather. I mean, his only goal was to find his granddaughter and try to find out what happened. You know, so that was horrible for what they did to him. Secondly, Casey never once mentioned her. It wasn't a situation where I need to find my daughter. And, the only thing that comes back to is because she always knew where she was.
Exactly.
It's chilling. Rob, thank you very much for your service. I want to remind everyone that Casey Anthony was acquitted of Kaylee's murder and has always maintained that she's innocent. She was only convicted of lying to police.
All right, everybody. That's the sad information. Dr. Oz, if you need verification, I briefly gave my commentary pertaining to this heinous crime out of Florida. And I can debrief again for those coming in late. Thank you all for joining me. The fact that Baez put George as the culprit, the child drowning in the pool, he hid the body, then the sexual assault alleged of her at 8 years old. How low can you go? Baez, you're a dirty dog as well. And see, you're so sick, you went along with that bullshit that Casey gave you. And Casey is diabolical. She's a sociopath. She walks around mimicking a human being, but she doesn't feel anything. She's empty. She's no different than a serial killer. She is the same caliber. She killed that child. That's the bottom line. That's my opinion. And I believe that the DA put on a good case. And Dr. Voss from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, from the National Lab, they did their best, the best they could do with what they had. But you are disgusting to even do something like this. I understand you want to get your client off, but I feel like, how low can you go? Because this man has to be able to walk around. He has to be able to have a life after the trial. He and his wife, and you didn't give a damn about that. You didn't give a damn about the gullible people who would think that he sexually assaulted Casey Anthony as a child and then killed the grandchild. This man is former law enforcement. He knows better than to throw a body away in a swamp. Crazy nonsense. Crazy and utter nonsense. They love that baby. It was obvious. All the pictures, and you could tell she was well taken care of. Pretty teeth. I was looking at her teeth in the photographs. Teeth straight for a toddler. That's rare for many toddlers to have such pretty straight teeth. Unlike our little shining star out of Rogersville. Major difference. They took good care of the child, the grandparents. So that's why I know they wouldn't have killed her and they wouldn't have hid her body if it was an accident. It's bullshit. The time she stayed away with the child, she was orchestrating her getaway then. Week 1, week 2, excuses to the mother about talking to the child. She was orchestrating the plan. Stay away, stay away, stay away. There's no telling how long the child was dead. Then her car was actually messed up. So that's probably the only thing she told that was the truth, because they said they did tow the car. And that's when they noticed the smell emanating from the trunk of a dead corpse. And naturally, the father would know that smell because he was a former deputy sheriff. Come on now. Casey, you really are stupid. But the sick part is that 12 members sat idly by and voted you freedom. And you walked out of there on that night, because I remember as if it was yesterday. You walked out of the county jail a free woman. Very sickening. But you see the lengths that a defense attorney will go to get his or her client off. Pull all punches. Leave a stone unturned. No stone. Every stone. Just anything to get you off. Basically, you signed a contract with the devil, Baez, when you threw George under the bus as the killer and a child molester. How in the world could someone forgive their child for killing their own grandchild and accuse them of being a child molester? You didn't give a damn about Mr. George or the wife. Then their personal life got thrown up on the witness stand that he was having an affair with a woman. The woman was also brought in to testify against George, giving dirty details of their affair. How low can you go? How low can one go? Just very sickening. And these are the things that happen in trials that you're not on trial for murder, but you can be implicated while one person is trying to get off of a murder charge, and then your personal business is now under scrutiny because he had to bring out dirt on George any way he could. So now we're talking about who he's been slumbering with while married. Very sad. But the fact that present day, she's alive, walking around, sucking on free oxygen that God has given her. She ain't had to pay a dime to breathe while her child is no longer living. And she had an altercation back in the spring with another young lady in a bar in Florida. They both were sharing the same guy. And just like a snitch bitch, yeah, I said that, she tells the woman, oh, he texted me, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a damn? Because what fool would lay with you anyway? And then Nancy Grace tells us that he's a cop. Shut your mouth. Come on, law enforcement. Are you really this desperate? All the beautiful women in the state of Florida, my goodness. Casey Anthony is the best you can do? The best of the best in Florida? My goodness. A lot of beautiful women in Florida. And Casey Anthony is the only thing you could dig up out of the ground and lay with, alongside the other female. So all three of you all will slumber with one another at the same time, probably not using anything. That's your damn business. But my goodness, you were sleeping with Satan's spawn. What was it about Casey Anthony that you felt you had to slumber with she? Now I would love to look and see what the other woman looks like. Have mercy. Is that something you want to whisper about with the guys in the locker room? I slept with Casey Anthony. You should have both of your paws cut off too. I don't give a damn. Disgusting. Her starting a PI business. Who the hell wants Casey Anthony snooping around in their dresser drawers and learning anything about anything? Ain't no way. Hell to the no. And was she sleeping with this man who was helping her case? Because he's an older man who basically helped her get this business, and she had been staying at his home, obviously for some time, because naturally she didn't work anywhere. She doesn't have any formal education. She can't go out here and afford a nice swanky apartment condo in Florida. So she's been afforded the opportunity to be once again taken care of by another gullible human being. Bad enough her parents were gullible, and then she finds this man to take care of her after being found not guilty. You see, this is what happens in the world. This is why we have sociopaths running around, because they have been afforded the opportunity to be caught, to be taken care of, to be enabled. So 9 times out of 10, Casey Anthony was giving up her goodie box to this old man. Shut up, Queen. My. Old man getting sexual favors from Satan's spawn. Now picture that. Delectable, indeed. Barf City. So you don't know people. Imagine the friends who said, Lord have mercy. While we're in here partying it up, enjoying ourselves as young people, there's a child lying around in a trunk of our friend's car. Because 9 times out of 10, the baby was in the car for God knows how long before Casey Anthony dumped her in that swamp. So how long did the child lie in the trunk before being disposed? How many people got in her car? Did it ever occur to anybody that she put people in her car to go here and there? Or did she just say, girl, I'll meet you over there? Because people are so brazen, they'll put you in the car knowing the car stinks. No different than a trashy car, and it ain't a dead body in the car. The house is nasty. You still invite people over. It's the same damn thing, just not a dead body. Casey Anthony's diabolical. She is a female sociopath. She is sickening. And the fact she was showing out in court to where they wanted to examine her, there's nothing wrong with her. She was just throwing a fit. Excuse me. And as the judge said, she was putting on. When the jury was out, a whole nother person immersed in the court. She was running the show, and you could tell she was in charge. And that's the same thing that the bodyguard said of her demeanor. First thing she asked for getting out, she's worried about what she's going to eat. Because that's how a sociopath navigates. They are self-serving. They only think of self. Self is first. There is no such thing as love. And I brought you commentary about the definition of a narcissist. A narcissist can love no one because, one, you have to have empathy. And most narcissists are empty vessels. They don't feel anything for anyone. So therefore, they can't feel anything to love. There's no such thing as love. Self-serving. Casey Anthony could have easily left her child in the company of her parents and walked away from her ho-hum life and did whatever it is she wanted to do. All she had to do was tell her parents that she didn't feel like she was capable of raising her child, and could they take care of the child while she did her thing, and I don't think they would have objected. As far as Elise saying, no, we're not going to take care of your kid. They may have told her how they felt. We don't agree with this, but they would have kept the child. Casey is a fool because she had 2 in-house babysitters who would have gladly raised the child. So I don't understand the reasoning for killing the child. So what came to mind to me many moons ago is that the reason she killed the child was not just because she was tired of being a parent and obligated, but she knew she wasn't going to go out here and pay bills anywhere. So therefore, she didn't want to be obligated to coming home to that little girl on her nights out and binging with friends. Think about it. Staying gone for a day, 2, 3, 4. How would that work? Leaving the little girl at the house and you also still sleeping there too. Eventually the parents would say something. Hey, when are you coming home? Hey, you need to spend time with your daughter. She didn't want to hear that. So what she said to herself is, I'll knock this kid off and I can still live with my parents for free. I can still live with my parents for free, minus the child. But she didn't plan it out thoroughly at all. Because you see, when you left the house, Casey, you were responsible for the baby. So therefore, law enforcement was not going to look at anybody but you. And you couldn't bring a viable person to say who you left the child with, and all roads led back to you. Because there was nobody but you that was responsible for the disappearance and death of your baby. We live in a heinous society. And you do not know people. And I tell you all this all the time when I discuss true crime, is that you don't know people and that these people are diabolical. And as someone was saying last night on my panel, some people just don't want to accept the fact that people are heinous. So they always want to think that something was an accident. Well, we know better in true crime that most crimes are intentional. They are not accidents. Nobody fell down the stairs. Nobody slipped in the bathtub. Nobody fell asleep permanently in their sleep. Nobody drowned in a swimming pool. Nobody drowned in a swimming hole. Somebody got tired of your ass and wanted you gone. That's what happened. I'm sick of looking at you. I don't want to be with you no more. I don't want to love you. I don't want to pay bills. I don't want to pay child support. I don't want to pay your car note. I don't want you. I don't need you. Oh, you look like a good mark. Somebody I can go in their bank account, steal their money, pretend to be them, steal their identity. Stay woke. It happens every day. Most crimes are not accidental. So why keep saying it was an accident? It was an accident. If you are that blind and gullible, I'm going to be careful what words I use. Yeah, you really need help. Because there are too many crimes that occur on the daily that are intentional and deliberate. And they are not accidental. And they have forensics to prove they are not. You don't want to think the worst of man. Well, you need to get over yourself. Because man is tainted. Woman is tainted. They are sinister. They are corrupt. They are heathens. They are liars. They are thieves. They are manipulators. They are sexual assaulters. They are sadists. And they are killers. And if you cannot accept that, then you are in bad shape. And I don't know what kind of world you think we're in and how you're going to navigate only wanting to think that every damn crime is an accident. It's no such thing. And a decent human would not cover up an accident. And that's just the bottom line. Very, very, very sick. Very sick world we are in. I'm not going to hold you all long, but it's just a sad world we're in. Well, Ange, we already know that, darling. But the point of reasonable doubt is to get you to think different of my client. That was Baez's job, was to get her off, and he got her off. He put reasonable doubt in 12 members' heads, allegedly, and they fell for it. But in my mind, I still can't understand with the evidence that they had, the bag, the tape, the sticker, the Winnie the Pooh blanket, dumped near the house, 31 days of never telling anyone the child was missing, all the lies of where the child was, the imaginary nanny lying about the job that she had been gone from for 2 years, lying about the supervisor, showing up to the job, they're calling the person that doesn't exist. Why would I do all of this? My child was abducted from the nanny or not returned from the nanny. Make it make sense. And I've seen too many crimes coming out of Florida as of late where these people willingly let people go free from their crimes. Casey Anthony, George Zimmerman, it's all the same to me. Florida's a stand your ground state, and these people ride or die on that law. But there's something wrong with most of these people down in Florida. And I'm going to say this. There's something wrong with some of you. Obviously, you've been in the heat too long, and the heat has sucked up your brain cells to where you can't think. Because for this man to come forward now and say, I wish I had stood up for what I believed in. Well, you let a killer go free. So then I have to ask myself the ultimate question. If you believe you made a mistake on that fateful day in 2011, then what do the other jurors feel now? Because you have yet to hear any of them speak up about that case. So now will we hear that there are more jurors that feel the same as this man, that they made a terrible, heinous mistake by letting Casey Anthony go free. How can you sleep? How in the world? Did you ever decide to let this female go free? As of November 21, she was dating a young man. He didn't want to be in the limelight or be known. But once again, I have to ask myself, why are you dating this thing? And I guess some would say, well, even a sociopath needs love, Angela. I don't care. I can't understand how in the world any man or woman would be attracted to a sociopath and know the stakes were high in the case and evidence was pertinent, substantial, and yet 12 people found the person not guilty, and you would think to go and date this person. Why? She's wealthy from what? She's not wealthy from anything. How's she wealthy? What is she wealthy from? The PI business didn't take off. She has not finished the book that she allegedly was writing, so how is she wealthy? Just curious. That's my said commentary pertaining to Casey Anthony. Well, that was their choice to let her go. Because that's the thing about being found not innocent from a murder trial. There are no redos. It will be double jeopardy. Once you're found not guilty, you cannot be tried again. So it doesn't matter what anyone has to say now about the trial. You're a day late, dollar short. You should have hung her then. Well, Monica Lewinsky is in better shape than Casey Anthony. Monica Lewinsky didn't kill a child. She just had sexual relations with the president. Thank you all for joining me. If you want to donate to the channel, $BigAndrew129 Cash App. I'm going to check out of here, but that's my commentary from the crime vault. Casey Anthony, did the jury free a killer? Yes, I think they did. I think they did. I think they made a grave mistake. A grave, grave mistake. And you have to sleep with that. That you let a killer go free. And there was no justice for her baby. And the fact that she said she sleeps well at night and she doesn't give a F about anybody, she's telling you who she is. I don't give a F about anybody because I didn't give a F about my kid. And as Nancy Grace said, how can you call the police on someone throwing a drink on you in a bar, but you wouldn't call the police when your child was missing for 31 days? Because she didn't give a F about her kid. So hell no, she wasn't going to call because it was intentional and deliberate to get rid of little Kaylee. Why would I call when I want her gone? I have no reason to call 911 because the child was never missing. The child left with the mother and she died by the mother. And she was discarded by the mother. And if it wasn't for inquiring grandmothers, the child would still be probably bones. But God said, I got to get her out of the swamp. And that utility worker found little Kaylee Anthony. Amen. Thank you all for joining me. God bless all of you. Have a safe week. Prayers for everybody. This is Crime Vault, an extension of Everyday Shenanigans, bringing you a true crime out of the U.S. once a week. I bring you a horrific crime that took place on American soil. And I thank you all so much for joining me. You all stay safe. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Good night, baby.